Welcome back to another episode of Let's Have a Sip. I'm your host, Sean Drinks. Doran Burnside, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing?
Doing well, my friend. How about yourself?
Good, man. Just chilling.
I hear you.
Oh, yeah. Getting ready to pop open this. I just got this the other day. It's Woodford Reserve Masters Collection. I've never had it before, but
I've never had it either.
So I was looking at it a second ago, and it says batch proof. I have never heard of that before, but so I looked online. I don't know if this is exactly what it is, but I think they have like different proofs for this specific bottle. So I guess they batch them, or I don't know. I'm super green when it comes to all this stuff. So, but look pretty cool. So Master Distillers Chris Morris. So hopefully this doesn't suck, Chris. 'Cause if it does, I'm throwing it away. But not really.
Nah, man, listen, it's
kidding.
a Woodford, right? It's a Woodford. So
Woodford's always so good. So you can't go wrong with that.
You're gonna have a hard time going wrong there. So I don't think it'll be going in the trash anytime soon.
I like to talk a lot of shit. So
for me, I poured me a small glass of Weller Antique 107. So I'm a big Buffalo Trace Distillery guy. So anything I can get my hands on from them, I'm happy with.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I have the hardest time trying to find 107 in Dallas. And I had to hit up actually it was more so my fiance. She hit up one of her girlfriends, and her husband just so happens to be into bourbon as well, and found a pretty decently priced 107 up in Atlanta. And when I say decently, it was about $100. Like,
okay.
You can't. I mean, you just can't find it for under $100 anywhere. And if you can, then kudos to you, I guess.
Yeah, the last bottle I got, a friend of mine picked it up for me, and it was $70. He just happened to run across it, and I was like, man, but grab it for me. Just because bourbon at this point in general has just like exploded everywhere. I think the secondary market is getting a little crazy for what some people want for some things. But if you can get it and enjoy it at a decent price, that's all that matters, I suppose.
Yeah, no doubt. And so there is I don't know if I was talking to you or someone else about this. It may have been someone else, but there is a liquor store. It's a chain. It's called Specs, and I'm pretty sure it's probably just exclusive to Dallas.
Okay.
Because I'd never heard of it until I came here. I'm pretty sure it's a family-owned and operated liquor store, but it's just like Total Wine, just like a mega warehouse. But there's a specific store here in Dallas where they just drop some good stuff, and it's consistent as well. It's not like they just get like one bottle of, like, for example, Russell's 13, which they just dropped a couple of like a week ago or so. And I may have mentioned that to you as well. I was in line waiting to get that bottle because, like, if you find that, it's probably going to be like $600, and I can't justify paying that much for a bottle.
No,
but like, they sell everything in MSRP, so it's like
nice.
If you can get your hands on it, sweet. So
and for realistically up here, like where we're at in Tennessee, man, like everything is so allocated that it's hard to get anything. Like everything is a lottery, and so a lot of guys are bottle hunters, what I call them. Like they go out of state, different places, and they find it, and they're like, oh, I'm buying as many as I can get, and I'm taking them home with me. So, luckily I have a good network of friends that keep me in the know of decent bottles. And if they find one, they grab it for me as well. And, we trade back and forth. I won't say I buy it from them because, we trade other things per se.
Yeah, I feel you, man. So I know we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and because I've been trying to get you on here. My schedule is kind of weird. Your schedule is kind of weird. I think we had to reschedule like 3 times or whatever, but it's all good. We're here now, ladies and gentlemen. So
absolutely glad to be here too.
So I know you said you started your own, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your own insurance agency, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you want to kind of speak on when you actually started that and what that's all about?
So let's see. I started it in November of 2020. So we were actually living in Tampa, Florida. The pandemic hit, and it was just me, my wife, and the kids, and we were in Tampa, Florida. No friends, no family, no nothing. Pandemic hits, and we realized like how much we really missed everyone we loved, right? Because up until that point, we were able to travel whenever we wanted to, and we could sneak home on a weekend and come up, see family, friends, whatever. pandemic hits and it's like, no, you can't go anywhere, see anyone, do anything. Made us realize like, okay, we don't want to be this far away. So my wife said she wanted to come home, and I told her, I said, I have one caveat to that. If I go home, I'm never working for anyone else ever again. Like, just, that's it. I'll do exactly what you ask of me. We can go back to Tennessee, but I'm never working for anyone else. And at that point, I had worked for Liberty Mutual for a couple of years, worked for State Farm a couple of years. And I felt like realistically, as a younger guy in a career field that predominantly older people dominate, you know, the average insurance agent is like 62 to 67 years old. I figured I could do it a lot better as a young guy for people in my age demographic. So she agreed, and we blew our savings to start the thing. And here we are almost 2 years later, and Burnside Insurance Group is thriving and, you know, doing really well, actually. I'm actually in my office today doing the podcast because my wife and kids are rude sometimes, and they wouldn't care if we were talking or not. They just be in the background like, who are you talking to, Dad? Like, what you talking about? So, you know, come to the office, have a drink, have some good conversation.
Yeah, no doubt. And what'd you say you were drinking?
Weller Antique 107.
Okay, that's right. God, it's such a good bottle, man. Yeah, I only have one of them, and it's one of those things where, like, if I get a bottle, I'll drink it. Like, I'm not gonna like let something. Yeah, so you're almost done with it. For everyone watching, yeah, it's almost empty.
Yeah, it's almost gone.
Yeah, so I'm not the kind of guy to just like buy a bottle and be like, I'm gonna collect this and never open it and let it collect dust or whatever. Like, I'm gonna open my bottles. I'm gonna drink them, and at some point, if I know someone that appreciates bourbon, I'll let them try some.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll let people like try it just for the shits and giggles, like because I want to get other people into whiskey as well. But like, it's hit or miss, really. But no, it's hard for me to like kind of like really get closer to finishing bottles if I can't find another one. I'm like, I don't want to.
Because you keep buying them. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. I've been on a spree. Well, within the last like 2 months, I haven't really been kind of like branching out and buying a lot of different bottles. But like, dude, this weekend I was just like, you know what? I'm going ham and I'm buying a lot.
Right.
So, because I sent you a couple of pictures, like I got all this stuff. So
some good bottles, man. Some good bottles too. Well, the problem for me is I have two loves. So I love bourbon, but I also love cigars. So I've got two really, really nasty, you know, like enjoyable habits, I would say, and they're both fairly expensive. So, you know, collecting bottles, smoking cigars, you know, it can run you down a rabbit hole pretty quickly. So my wife is like, you got to alternate, man. Like 1 month is cigars, 1 month is bourbon. Like you can't do both in the same month. I'm like, you're right. It got to a point where I was spending a pretty penny buying, you know, high-end cigars and high-end bourbon, and looked at the bank account one day and was like, yeah, we can't do that. I own a business. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's one thing I never, I'd like to get into cigars more, but I haven't really kind of dipped my toes into it too much. I'll have the occasional cigar, stuff like that. And, you know, I've heard of brands that are pretty decent, all that stuff. And, you know, Romeo and Juliet, is that, I don't know if that's, Romeo and Juliet. That's kind of one I normally kind of gravitate towards. It's pretty good. I don't really understand exactly what I'm tasting when I'm smoking it, but like,
so I have friends that like, they can go down the line and they're like, even with bourbon, they're like, oh, I can taste the, you know, the oak, and, you know, I can taste the chocolate. And I'm like, yeah, I don't get all that. Like, I can tell you this one is more enjoyable than the last one I had. Now there are some cigars and different bourbons that really stand out. Like I said, anything from Buffalo Trace, I'm in on, right? A lot of stuff from Heaven Hill Distillery, I'm in on. But there are those out there that I'm just like, not my thing. As far as cigars, you just got to kind of figure out your palate, man. Like, do you like stuff that's, you know, light? Do you like a medium body, a full body? Me, I came from smoking cigarettes, which is a horrible thing. So I ended up gravitating a little bit more towards, you know, full body cigars. So, you know, things that are extremely strong, and the other reason I like extremely strong cigars is because they pair well with bourbon, right? So bourbon tends to be a little hotter on the palate. So the cigar tends to cut it a little bit for you. So I smoke something, you know, fairly heavy and drink something fairly heavy. Most of the bottles I own are over 100, probably more around, the 110 proof mark. So today I'm taking it a little bit more easy, but most of the time, that's why I pick the cigars I pick. So, you just got to find your own thing. Like Romeo and Juliet is a great brand. I'd tell you, if you like them, I'd probably look at like Arturo Fuente. I think you'll find a lot of stuff there. That's one of my go-tos. Like right now, I'm on a binge of buying Opus X cigars, getting as many as I can. Because I guess I call my friends bougie, but I guess I'm getting there because my average cigar cost used to be like $8 to $12. Now it's like 19 to 25. So which is why my wife was like, bourbon or cigars, alternate months. You can't do both.
Yeah, that's so Opus X is like, that's like top of the line cigar at least from what I've heard. That's so how much does a stick normally go for Opus X?
So it depends on which type of stick you're looking at. And there's many different Opus X out there. The one I like to try to get my hands on is the Fuente Opus X Double Corona. It's, yay long, like it's a full stick and it runs $30. I had a friend bring me some back from Panama City just recently and they were $35 a piece, so they're running up the cost of my humidor pretty quickly. Whereas, on average, they used to be 8 to 12, which I still have those. I just, got into a group where we were able to get them more readily available because somebody's always traveling somewhere that they're available. And we ended up just really overbuying. So now I'm kind of trying to pare back a little bit, but
yeah. Yeah. So you said you're in a group. So Kobe Cigars is what you're talking about, correct?
Yes. So that's actually where we smoke. That's the lounge we go to quite often. We have a small little niche group that we call Whiskey Wednesday. So it's about 8 to 10 of us that we get together every Wednesday. It's more than just Wednesdays now. Like we got together last night as well. But Wednesdays predominantly, you bring a bottle or a couple of bottles to share with everybody and try new things. So you always find something new and exciting on the table. Some real rare stuff. Like we were just talking recently, one of the guys that I wouldn't say he's necessarily in the group, but he frequents every once in a while. He showed up with a, 1994 bottle of OFC, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if it was 94 or 99 at this point. Too much to drink last night. But either way, it was a great bottle, very expensive. Pappy 23 has showed its head multiple times, Pappy 15, 10, all of those things, so it's a fun group to be in, enjoyable. We probably indulge a little too much, but we enjoy it.
yeah, you're enjoying life, so it's all
absolutely,
good.
Man. All the way to the fullest.
So you said the OFC was it Andy Peters that showed up? Is that who you're talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was Andy Peters. He has so many bottles, man, like just happy to be, a small part of his little circle to, enjoy those things every once in a while.
Yeah, dude, he's got if I ever see him doing like a live stream or something and he's like in his office, I guess his office is like where his spirits are at. And he's got, if I'm not mistaken, close to like 2,000 bottles. That's could be a little bit more than what it actually is, but it's a lot.
It's right around that number right now, if I'm not mistaken. It's a lot of bottles, man. Like, and it's a beautiful collection. It's not just bourbon, right? Like he's got everything you could potentially think of: tequilas, rums, everything under the sun. But phenomenal guy. His collection is phenomenal, and I just appreciate him dropping by and sharing with us. So. But that's the culture, right? Of bourbon and cigars. If you find the right people, you're always in good company. Political views and religious views and all of that good stuff goes out the window. You just enjoy a good bottle of bourbon and, if you're like our group, a good cigar to go with it.
Yeah, no doubt. I know that Luke Jones. Yeah, I think he said he's been going in there quite a bit. I'll holler at him every once in a while, see how he's doing. And
so we drug Luke down the rabbit hole, man. Like, he used to just come and hang out, and now he's sipping a bourbon here and there, and having a cigar. So he made his first order online of his own cigars, and we helped him out, gave him I think somebody gave him a humidor. Of course, I tossed him a cutter and a lighter. Like, man, you can't use that thing you got. Like, here, you need something decent, brother. Here, let's get you in the club and get you rocking. So we love him to death, man. And he's jumping down that rabbit hole, unfortunately, and he don't know how to go back. So
Yeah, because I remember he was like, "Yeah, I had my first whiskey or whatever." Or I don't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, "You had your first whiskey?" I think that's what he said. It was first whiskey, first cigar, or something. I don't remember.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and I was like, "About time, man!" So, and I was surprised that he was like, "Yeah, I've been going up there like every Wednesday." I'm like, "Really? Like you just the other day you were like, I don't really like drinking, but."
Dude, he's an OG now. Like Luke in there 3-4 times a week at this point. He there more than I am, and I like, I used to be there, 3 or 4 days a week, but my schedule's just gotten so busy I can't be there that often. But Luke he's holding it down for the group, man. Like he's there as often as he can be, which is cool because everybody loves him, man. Like he is definitely a great part of the group, man, and makes it more lively and fun. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And he has like a very like prominent voice, just like very, very deep. So
it stands out. So when he actually starts talking to you, you're always kind of like, if he's not talking and then he talks to you, it's kind of I forgot, like how deep and big that voice is when it comes out of him. So
yeah, no doubt. So the OFC that I can't remember exactly what that stands for. I think it's like Old Fine Copper or something.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so you said you had some, right?
Yes, I've had 2 different OFCs actually. I had an experimental that a friend of Andy's brought in that I'm closer with Will than I am with Andy, of course, because Will lives in Cleveland. He's a photographer, and he's at the lounge every chance he gets as well. He brought in an experimental batch. He put it in a decanter because he didn't want us to know what we were drinking and what it actually potentially retailed at. Basically, he used to date a young lady that was a family member of Buffalo Trace Distillery, and he had 2 experimental bottles, put one in a decanter for us to try. And when it all came out, it was about a $35,000 bottle of OFC.
Oh my God.
So everybody's like, we 2-finger pours, and he's like, yeah, go for it, man. Enjoy. And then everybody's guessing, trying to figure out what it is. And one of our guys got really close and he was like, yeah, experimental OFC. I can't remember what year it was, but it was old. And we started Googling and looking it up, and we're like, oh my God, like you can't get it. Right. Secondly, if you could get it, it would cost like 35 grand. And, he didn't just do it once. He did it twice. He brought it one time and a couple of people didn't get to try it. So he brought it back again. And it's phenomenal group, man. I can't say enough about those guys. They do big things for us, and take good care of each other.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it. So, so I know price doesn't necessarily dictate if the bottle is actually going to be good or not. Everyone's palate's different. I can think something's great. You can think like whatever I thought was great, it tastes like crap. So, I mean, was it like? I know that y'all didn't pay for it, but like, is it worth it? Like, if you were to be like, if you had the money, you're like, okay, I got 35K, dropping it. No, okay,
no. Was it good? Absolutely. I work in the financial industry, right? Like, you've got to get to a certain income bracket before that's even feasible. Like, so for me, no, I'm not in that tax bracket yet. For a guy like Andy, maybe, right? Like,
yeah,
it probably doesn't hurt for him to do it. It's the same way I feel about like Pappy 23. I don't think it's very good. Like, it's the fact that you can say you've had it. Yeah. I'm just not a huge fan of 23. Like, I think for me, the 10-year is just fine, right? 23 just has a really distinctive taste that I'm not a fan of, but that's me personally. The OFC was very good though. I don't want to say that I don't think for what that 2-ounce pour or that bottle would ultimately cost, I don't ever think I would be in a place where I would say, yes, it's okay to buy that bottle.
Yeah.
And feel good about it. Right. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, I've had, I think I've had 2 different types of Pappy. I had the 15 because everyone raves about that one. So I was like, let me get a pour of that. And then I've had the 10-year, which what is that? Rip Van Winkle or something?
Old
okay.
Rip.
Yeah. So had those. I think the old Rip's like 90 proof, and for me, I just like higher proof stuff.
You and me both.
It was cool, but I'm like, I mean, Bland's. If you can find it for MSRP,
Retail.
cool, go
Yeah.
with that. But if you can't find that, Blade and Bow. That's just
Yeah.
for me, just as good. But
Yep, I agree. I like it.
But I forget where I was going with this. Yeah, so I tried the 15 and like I think I paid like $70 for a 2-ounce pour.
Even that's
and like I wasn't impressed with it. It's more like just like you said, just to try it because it's Pappy,
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. It's a brand. It's Buffalo
Right.
Trace, and people go crazy for Buffalo Trace.
Dude,
So
I don't understand the craziness that people will do to get, Buffalo Trace bottles, but like I watched the documentary on Netflix of like the Buffalo Trace heist, like where you had to go to jail, like
yeah,
because people wanted it that bad. Like there are bourbons. Again, I'm a big fan of Buffalo Trace Distillery, but there are other bourbons out there that compare very well and are very good, right? Like Wild Turkey for me, right? Like it's not the greatest, it's not terrible, but like for everyday bourbon, I'm good with Wild Turkey, right? Like long day at work, come home, grab a bottle of Wild Turkey 101. It's above the 100 proof mark. It's not phenomenal, but it's not bad. And I can buy a bottle of it all day long for $22, right? Like I'm good with that. And then I also don't feel bad when somebody that doesn't drink bourbon comes over to the house. I've got that bottle that's like, hey, try this. If you hate it, then, I know better than to give you something like, E.H. Taylor single barrel, there's those things, man. Like my collection ranges all kinds of stuff. So I really don't put price tag as one of those things that makes it good or bad.
Yeah, for sure. Cause definitely to a degree it can make a difference, but generally I guess sometimes it doesn't really matter. But
right.
Speaking of Wild Turkey, I had bought this was one of my first bottles that I ever got. It's the Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit, the single barrel.
Yep.
So I bought it, I killed the bottle, so I finished it, and then I could never find it again, and my buddy found one, and and then like Rare Breed. Oh my god.
Dude, Rare Breed, man, like that's one of those it's always on the shelf, right? Like you can always walk and get it. Like it tastes great. So it's one of those things, like I said, it's just your palate dictates what you like, right? And price is not a good determining factor of a good bourbon. Age for me is one of those things that I look for, right? Like one of the first things I ask when people bring a bottle into the lounge is how many years has it been aged? Like I don't want anything that's been aged like 2 years. That's normally not very good. So if you can get something that's like, 6 to 8 years old, and you're probably in a good place with a bourbon. So anyway, that's my philosophy behind it.
Yeah, no doubt. So the guy that you said that brought in that OFC distiller experimental bottle, so his name's Will. Is that the Will that's like the photographer that travels and does like bodybuilding stuff?
That'd be him.
Okay, yeah. I think I may have met him once a while back at the Grid House or something. I've actually been messaging him back and forth on social media, and I'm trying to get him to come on the podcast, but his schedule is very like
that's nuts, bro.
He's always on the go, and I'm like, he said he'll hit me up, and I'm like, I'm gonna be patient. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So
next time I see him, I'm gonna be like, yo, that's my boy. Like,
yeah,
do that for him. That's my boy. Like, so when I see him, I'll holler at him.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. So I just thought of this. So I think so. It's very weird. I guess not weird. Just the world is weird. How like things happen, whatever. But I met you, I think, whenever I was in like high school.
Yeah, bro.
I think you were working at AT&T at the time. And
I was a manager for AT&T, and your mom was one of my clients, man.
Yeah, my mom is. I love my mom to death.
We love your mom, like my whole family.
She can be like she's just a very like.
If you don't know her, she can scare you a little, right? Like she jumps like. When she rocks with you, she just jumps out there and she's like, I love you to death, or she'll let you know the opposite too. Because I've been in the room and watched her do the exact opposite. So
oh damn, I didn't know that.
Not against me, but just somebody she was not happy with, and she went Judy. She did her thing. So it was hilarious. But she's we loved your mom so much. We invited her to the wedding and the whole 9 yards, man. Like she was at my wedding, at the reception. We had a ball, love her to death. We still communicate now. Like my wife does her hair from time to time. So like Father's Day, every holiday, she hits me up. So love Judy to death, man. Like, and we were actually talking. I told her she liked a picture of me like smoking a cigar and drinking bourbon. And she was like, Sean, he does this podcast. I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be on there. Our schedules just keep conflicting. And she was like, well, he must like you if he asked you to be on that podcast. And I was like, well, I hope so. Like, hopefully I bring some value to it, some shape or form, like I know a little bit about something, so we'll make it a good conversation.
Yeah. No, love you, Mom. If you're listening, thank you. Appreciate
no
you.
doubt, me too.
No, it's funny because I was actually at your wedding too, but I didn't really know who you were. I was, because what year did you get married?
Oh, let's see. What year did I get married? Oh God, I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. So I celebrated my 8th year anniversary, August 3rd. So 2014.
Okay. Yeah. I was there because you did it at the old Woolen Mill, right?
Oh, well, really? How did I not? Okay. I'm so lost. Man, listen, I had a lot to drink that night. A lot to drink.
I did too, so it's all good. No, I went to, I didn't really weren't like on like a talking basis or whatever, yes. But like I just went, my mom was like, hey, going to this wedding, you want to come with me? Because I think my dad was traveling for work or something. Yes, and I was like, yeah, sure, cool, whatever. So I went and it was just random. I was at your wedding. So
yeah, man, that's crazy. Small world for real, dude. Like, I mean, I knew we had mixed and mingled a couple of times, but I didn't realize you were at the wedding. Again, my wife scared me to death. I didn't think she was coming. She was a couple hours late, and one of my boys had a couple of bottles of vodka in his little suit jacket and was like, she's coming, I promise. Here, drink this. By the time I knew it, I was like, where are we again? Like, so, it was a good night, though. It was a good night.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of drinking too much, I went out to, had a buddy of mine that came over and hung out with me and my fiance. Shout out to Max. Appreciate you, bud. He gifted me this Woodford Reserve. What is this? A distillery series. So I guess it's just something you can only get from the distillery. So, yep. And I was like, did you actually get this for me? And he was like, yeah, I fucking got it for you. What do you think? And I'm like, that's so cool. So because I've never been to a distillery before, and I would love to go to, I don't care what it is, if it's Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, something, I just would enjoy that, like that process and just going there and seeing like what it's all about.
Gotta come up to Kentucky, we're actually, me and the wife and a group of friends are doing it end of September. We're going to do the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky.
Jealous.
Like, dude, like you used to live here. So, it's 4 hours from us. Like, gotta do it. So I haven't been to this point either. But it's one of those things that, like, if you're a bourbon person, you got to put it on the bucket list, right? So, I'm going September, so we're looking forward to it. We're also we're doing a cigar event at the same time. So Drew Estate is doing one of their big barn smoker events, and it's about 30 minutes to an hour from the Bourbon Trail. So we're going to go up the night before, do the Bourbon Trail, and then do the 2-day cigar barn smoker event.
Okay, so Drew Estate, I've never heard of that. What is that?
So Drew Estate, they make quite a few different cigars. So they make all of Undercrown. They make a couple of flavored sticks like the Leather Rose, Fat Bottom Betty. So they make quite a few sticks, but they have one of the ones that are my favorite at the lower price point. It's called the UC 10 All Decked Out. So Undercrown 10 All Decked Out. Phenomenal stick, just great. But they throw this big event in like 7 different states. So we're going up to the one in Kentucky. They just did one in Pennsylvania. They've got one down in Florida. But it's like a 3-day event. The first day is like a all-out party. You get swag and free cigars, and then the next day is you learn about their rolling and how they grow the tobacco, all that good stuff. So it's a cool little thing. It's my first event. I haven't been to one. And I'm, 8 years deep in the cigar game, and I've never been to a cigar event. So again, business started doing well, and I was like, all right, I can push back a little bit and do some things with the wife, kids, and enjoy, some of these fruits of the labor, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. So that's great that your business is doing well, especially since you opened it up like kind of, during COVID
Yeah,
2020.
yeah,
2020 is a blur for everybody. Well, at least for me it is, but
yeah.
it just went by so quick. So it's weird. But what's next for so what's the name of your business?
Burnside Insurance Group. So big for short.
Okay.
It was kind of funny, like, I was telling my wife, like, man, this thing's got to be big. It's got to be big. And she's like, well, what are you going to name it? And I was just like, Burnside Insurance Group. That's big. Like, that is. And she's like, that's just got to be God. It's got to work, right? Like, that's got to be God. So next steps is realistically, my daughter, it just came to work for me. My oldest daughter, who is 19, she is in the process of getting her licensing. So teaching her the ropes, showing her how the business works so that dad can continue to do some of the things that I excel at, like, going out and being in the community, and allowing her to take over some of the day-to-day things here, and then continuing to expand from there. Ultimately, I don't see selling insurance as the final thing for me. It's like the stepping stone. I want to use my agency to acquire other agencies, and streamline the processes and people, that type of thing. But ultimately, like, wealth comes from real estate. So that's where the eye is planted, is like, okay, that's what we're looking at ultimately. Take this money and branch into real estate and some other things. So
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's cool. Yeah, my fiance's been in the insurance game for
Mhm.
a little over 10 years,
Okay.
and she works at a company called Market Scout, based here in Dallas, and they have, I think, offices in like the UK. And correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, if you're watching or listening. I think they may have an office in the UK, or maybe they just have partners in the UK. I know they
Okay.
have one in Chicago and then Florida or something, but privately owned company.
Mhm.
And it's like more so high net worth
Absolutely.
clients or whatever. So, fine art. If they got some house up in LA that's worth a million bajillion dollars, or
Yeah.
like, let's see if we can insure this. So, um, I mean, she'll kind of like talk to me sometimes about like the sexy side of what she does. And
There is a side that's not so sexy.
yeah, so, and she tells me that too. She's like, I gotta, because we talk about our daily lives, like, hey, how was
Right.
work? How was your day? Would you go through? And the one thing that she'll kind of, it's kind of cheesy, but I think it's kind of cool. We don't really do it too much anymore. But she's like, okay, rose and thorn. The first time she said that to me, I'm like, what? Like, I just got off work. She's like, rose and thorn. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like 9 o'clock when I got home because my schedule can be crazy sometimes. And she's like, okay, Rose, what was the best part of your day? And then Thorn, what was kind of
Right.
like
Worst part.
maybe, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, she'll kind of tell me about certain things that she may have had to go through that particular day or whatever, and that may have not been so sexy per se. And
Yeah.
but I'm proud of her. She's dope. She's super cool. She's my rock. So if you're listening to this, Courtney, I love you.
And,
Yeah.
and congratulations on the engagement. Like, it happened recently, right? Like, it wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I did it. I proposed on my birthday actually. So I don't know if I may have talked about it on the podcast before, but yeah, for everyone listening, I proposed to my fiance on my birthday, and people were like, who the fuck does that on their birthday? So
It's smart. It's ingenious. Like, you'll never forget the date you proposed. Like, try to get
exactly.
married
So,
on that thing too. Like,
but
I have a friend that has his birthday and his anniversary on the same day, and I'm like, yo, that's ingenious, bro. Like, you can never ever forget your anniversary, dog.
yeah.
And you don't have the problem I just had when you're like, when'd you get married again? I'm like, and my anniversary was just a couple of days ago, and I'm still like,
Oh shit! Happy anniversary! Happy belated anniversary, man.
yeah,
So.
man. It was literally August 3rd. So, like, so it's crazy that I'm sitting here and I can't remember exactly.
Well,
But
so so it's funny how it happened though, because I didn't plan on doing it on my birthday. That was
Mhm.
not even in the thought process. It just happened that way. It was very weird, but I was waiting on the ring to get rendered, and I think they took about like 2 months or whatever to kind of get it rendered. And I was like sweating the whole time that on my birthday, and we were at one point. So I did it at her dad's house. I did it in his backyard,
Okay.
and he has a pretty nice backyard. So I was like, "Hey, can I use your backyard?" What I originally want to do is probably not going to work out because, and let me rewind a little bit, because originally I wanted to do it at this place called the Dallas Arboretum. So it's
Okay.
like a place where you can go see a whole bunch of like, nice flowers, plants, art, whatever. And in Dallas, it's hot. So I talk about how hot it is on this podcast a lot because you know what? It's super hot in Texas, y'all.
Yeah.
And so a week prior to me proposing to her, I was like, I hollered at one of my buddies, like, "Hey, can you come up with me to the Arboretum? I'm gonna go check it out, kind of scope out a spot." And it was like 103 or something like that day, and the humidity here is terrible. So I'm in clothes kind of similar to this, and I got shorts on right now. You can't see it, but then I was wearing flip flops, and I'm walking around like instantly just sweating,
Sweat. Yeah.
sweating everywhere. I got swamp ass, all that stuff. So, so walking around, and these crazy motherfuckers that are actually at the Arboretum are having a wedding that day, and I'm like, what are y'all doing?
In 103-degree heat.
Yes, yes. So I'm walking around. I'm like, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, so I'm gonna have to. So we're going out to eat on my birthday. So we're gonna get dressed up. So if I'm gonna go propose to her at the Arboretum and we're getting dressed up, nah, it's not gonna happen. We're literally gonna pass out from heat exhaustion. So I was like, man, what am I gonna do? Long story short, just did it in her dad's backyard, and yeah, it was super cool. We went to this place called Carbone, that's based in, well, it's one of the 3 restaurants that's based in Dallas. Very, very good Italian food, and it was so good. But yeah, it's funny because like it turned out to not really be so much of like my birthday that day. So it was kind of like more of an afterthought because our friends that we were with, like, oh yeah, Sean, happy birthday, and I'm like, yeah,
like,
thanks.
yeah. Hey, man, listen, you'll learn, man. Like, that's going to be the norm going forward. Like, you're the afterthought anyway.
Well, that's the cool thing about, so Courtney is my fiance's name, and she, that's the cool thing about her is like she, like, for the wedding, we have our wedding planner and stuff like that, and I want to be involved in like what we're doing. And it's not like she's very conscientious or aware of like how she's wording certain things. Like, this is our wedding, it's not just like my wedding. It's all about me. I'm a bridezilla, So, and she's
Right.
she's super dope about all that stuff. So, yeah, that's my
cool.
rant. That's my rant about weddings and
No,
engagements.
you're good. If she wants to share in all of those responsibilities with you, that's great. Because like my wife was like, I don't want any parts of this. Like, that's pretty much you want plan the wedding. Go ahead, have fun. She was like, it's agitating and frustrating and all of those things. So, my wife was kind of hands off on it, but she made the important decisions, right? Like what dress to wear, like, who we should invite, all that good stuff. Like, because for me, I would have invited the whole world and not cared. Like,
yeah,
it's an open invitation. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not how this works. Like, we'll go broke doing that. So that's not.
And that's something that we've kind of been thinking about as well, is like, because I think max capacity at the venue that we're deciding to use, I'm pretty positive we're going to sign I think we already signed a contract for it. I think we did it last night. I don't remember. I drank a little bit too much, like I said before, but it is what it is. But the venue I think can only hold like max 150. But then we're like, what about so and so, and what about this person? We're like, oh, because I want it to be a big party, but at the same time, it's like it's going to be a lot of money. I don't know if we can afford this.
Listen, bro, like, have the party later. You can always invite all of those other people, like just out somewhere, like, hey, come celebrate with us. We did this thing,
Yeah.
And those people that don't understand that, like, oh well, they'll get over it, or they won't. Like, who cares? Like,
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that her and I have talked about quite a bit as well. And she's talked about, she's talked to her girlfriends as well. At the end of the day, you have to do what makes you happy. But I mean, and to a degree, we kind of want to. I wouldn't say I'm a people pleaser because at the end of the day, I'm not. But if someone says they don't care about what people think, they're fucking lying. To a degree,
Yeah.
you probably care.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have social media, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I did.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, you know, we're always thinking about like, well, what about so and so, and what can we do with this and that, and blah blah blah. So, but I'm ready. I'm ready to just get this venue locked in and start setting up everything. I'm so excited because we were talking about it last night. You know, I guess the venue has, I forget exactly what it's called, but like you're getting the bartenders from them, and I'm like, hey, can you get me a bottle of like George T. Stagg? And we're like, well, let's see what we can do. It'll probably be like $1 million, and I'm like, well, okay,
so that's always the scary thing about like the venues having to provide the bartender, because then 9 times out of 10 they also want to provide the liquor, and it's like, well, what do you have? Like,
yeah,
I don't drink just anything. That's a problem when we go out, right? Like, you know, we go to a restaurant or something, and my wife is like, oh, I'm gonna have a drink, and then they're like, would you like something, sir? And I'm like, you got a bourbon list? And like, the bourbon list is like makers, like like that's it. Like we've got makers. You know, we have Jack Daniels. I'm like, nothing wrong with those 2 brands. It's just like, you know,
it's just different. It's for a different crowd. So.
Yeah, it's like nothing else. So you know, I get it.
You know, one thing about Dallas, man, is you're familiar with who Fred Minnick is, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really know too much about the Ascot Awards, but excuse me. I guess that's like some sort of like award show that they do for spirits. They're like, hey, this is like whatever, but so Fred Minnick and then whoever his team is or judges decided that the Dallas Bourbon Club was the best bourbon club, I guess, in the nation or whatever, which I thought was super cool because Dallas has some good spots to get some good bourbon. There is, you know, shout out to Dallas Bourbon Club. I've never met any of the guys, but they seem like what they're doing seems very, very cool. Because I may have sent you a picture of a bottle that I had snagged yesterday, OKI, and actually I think I have it.
You sent that one to me. Yes.
Yeah, so I haven't opened it up yet, but it's this one right here. It is a single barrel, it's a single barrel from Dallas Bourbon Club. So you got the little sticker right there. You can't probably see it.
That's cool.
But anyways, OKI. I've never had it. I think that stands for Oklahoma, Kentucky, Indiana. So I guess it's a blend of whatever's from those different states. I don't really know, but super cool. Also, you got Roger Staubach on the back. Super random, but don't really know why that's there.
I'm a huge Cowboys fan, so that's okay.
Oh, okay, cool. So nice. They only had 200 bottles of this particular pick, and I got in there and I got the one of the few of the last bottles. And anyways, what they do seems very cool. Right. And you know, a lot of the proceeds a lot of the bottles that they have that are single barrels at their specific store, which I think is called Medallion Liquor in Lakewood, is their proceeds go to certain charities because a lot of the stuff that they do helps nonprofit or maybe they're considered a nonprofit organization. They will donate their proceeds to whatever charity or whatever. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyways, dude, the like bourbon in this area, it gets me so excited because there's just so much. There's so much, and the quality of it's amazing. And it like, because I've always enjoyed bourbon, but I don't know if I necessarily realized it until I moved here. So whenever I moved in with my fiance, I started buying all these bottles. She was like, well, I didn't know I was going to have to store some bourbon. Like, what's going on? And then just the other day, got up to 129 bottles, and she's like,
because I asked you, I was like, how many bottles do you have now, bro?
So it's becoming a problem. I need help, y'all. So not really. But.
Nah, keep it rocking, man. Keep it rocking.
I'm excited to pop this one open. So and that's one thing that I really enjoy, which I wish I kind of had here, was like the Akoi Cigar Lounge. Yeah. Being able to have that camaraderie with people and being able to enjoy, you know, bottles like this with people.
There is no way that there is not a spot in Dallas that is similar. Like,
I'm sure.
Again,
OCL
is like, you know, of course, Cleveland is small town, right? Like, so it's not like it's not Dallas. So the feel that you get at OCL is very different, you know, because it's all walks of life in there, all different income classes and, all that good stuff. Whereas Dallas, I would think it's probably a little more, those things are probably separated a little more because of how big Dallas is as a city, right? It's a metropolitan area. And being a city kid, I understand how that dynamic works. But there's got to be a spot, man. Like,
I'm sure there is, and it's weird to say, but like, so I've been talking to this guy that lives in Mansfield, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, halfway to Fort Worth from here or whatever. And he's friends with one of my fiance's employees, and she knew that I was like into bourbon. She's like, "Hey, you need to hook up with so and so," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was like, "Hey, man, you need to come over sometime. I'll smoke some meat. We'll have like a bottle shared." I'm like, "Yes, let's do it," because
absolutely.
I've never done that before. That's one thing I've never done. I've never done it. So I'm like, I mean, I want to do that because I want to enjoy these bottles with certain people, and it.
But I tried to get you, and I didn't realize that you had moved to Daggone, Texas, because I hit you up on social media. I was like, "Look, bro, like I know you like bourbon. We over here doing this, like come through." And you was like, "I would, but I moved to Texas." So I was like, "Oh, okay, too little, too late."
Yeah, well, no, well, so before I get married, I think I'm pretty sure we're gonna get married December 2023. But prior to that, I want to come back to Cleveland, and a couple of spots I want to go to is Bourbon Cigars.
Absolutely.
Definitely want to go there, and I'd like to link up with you, Luke. Go over there, chill, whatever. And then I want to go back to the Whiskey Thief. The Whiskey Thief in Chattanooga is pretty dope.
Yes. So there's a new place in Chattanooga. I got to remember what it's called. It's underneath a pizza spot. God, what is it called? Anyway, they have the largest bourbon list in all of Chattanooga, over 300 bottles.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. And me and my wife just went there like a couple months ago. The name of the pizza place is my God, why can I not think of this place? Great pizza. It's New York style pizza, which was right up my alley because I'm from New York originally. So New York style pizza. And then underneath they have like a speakeasy kind of bar with over 300 bourbons, and like dude was making craft drinks. Like he made me a phenomenal old fashioned with E.H. Taylor. And normally I would never ever do that.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, convinced me, like, look, dude, like a classic drink, like, an old fashioned is fine to put good bourbon in. And like, you're not construing it with too many things. It's like when you start doing like Coke and bourbon, then it's a problem, right? Like
get some Pappy and Coke. We're good to go.
Yeah, like, it's come on, man. But he made me a old fashioned with E.H. Taylor, with smoked wood chips, the whole 9 yards. And I mean, it was great. And so there's a couple of places, man. When you come to town, we'll do some stuff. Like I said, our group, as far as you're talking about, like the Dallas Bourbon Group, we have one here called the Chattanooga Bourbon Society, which we're all members of. And then my group specifically, our 8 to 10 member group, is we're working on something called the Tennessee Cigars and Bourbon Society. So it's also going to be a nonprofit 501(c)(3). So that's in the work. We're putting all of that stuff together now. So we can try to make an impact with this group of dynamic people that we have, because we've literally got insurance agents, mortgage brokers, financial advisors, IT people, all kinds of things you can think about inside of our group. Will, the photographer, so a lot of different people that can bring something to the table. So we're looking forward to that as well. So that should be coming in a couple of months. The site is already up, but still working on getting the actual nonprofit part.
That's super cool, man. I'm excited to kind of see where that goes. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right here. I really appreciate you getting on. So until next time, everybody, peace.